I wanted to mention these in my main video that I just did, but I didn't really see a place to put them organically. So I wrote down some quotes from some stuff on Twitter that I saw that kind of went with everything that I was going through these past couple months. I wanted to just kind of explain the feelings I had about them. I might make these separate videos depending on topic. I don't know. I could make probably it could probably be all one video, I guess. We'll see. But I want to start with the main quote that kind of started it all for me. It's I'm paraphrasing some of these because I didn't feel like writing everything down. But it's people pleasing is unconscious manipulation. It's not about the person, it's about trying to control perception. That spoke out to me a lot because I realized that I have been a people pleaser for a good majority of my life. You know, one thing you kind of grow up, like once you start doing the work to kind of fix or figure out what's wrong with you to fix, you start realizing a lot of patterns that come from childhood. And I don't want to sit here and say that my parents haven't been good parents. You know, we're all flawed. You know, my mom was there for me, my dad was there, but you know, me and my dad, we haven't had the best relationship because, you know, he was working specifically so that me and my mom could have a better relationship because of his past. But even then, it's like different things you kind of see throughout childhood. It's like, okay, I can kind of see why I'm the way I am now. And people pleasing, I really feel like I've gotten that from dealing with my parents as well as everybody in my life, like ever. I won't say everybody in my life, but it definitely stems from my parents because, you know, when you're a kid, they got beat. You try to, you know, do things that don't, you know, get you beat. And I'm not gonna say this was my main motivations for my childhood, but it was, I feel like I limited myself a lot as a kid because I didn't want to disappoint my parents or disappoint people in general. Like, I remember from pretty much a very young age having a voice in the back of my head that was like, you can't do that because this, so I never climbed a tree or I jumped the fence before, but it's like pretty much why I've never really done a lot of things that, you know, most kids growing up where I grew up, when I grew up did. You know, I didn't get in too many fights. I did dumb things, but the whole time I was scared thinking about, you know, what my parents would think. And I lost a friendship at a young age because I had my parents' voice in the back of my head trying to please them. And it's just like, you know, you realize, at least for me, a lot of the voice in my head was very limiting for myself. And people pleasing, I can't pinpoint where as a kid I was people pleasing, but I can definitely pinpoint when I started people pleasing as a teenager. Because I was in 7th grade, there was a girl I dated in 6th grade. We got along till we broke up. I think we broke up because we realized we were better as being friends. Like, our friendship was really great. And I asked her out because I was like, you know, I haven't had a real girlfriend up to this point. So I asked her out because we were the closest, you know, to each other as far as like friendships with a girl went. So, you know, we dated, broke up, everything was cool. 7th grade, I became an asshole. I don't know where it came from, but I was that, well, you dated me guy. Ugh, hated it. And then at some point, I don't know when the switch came, but it was like I felt bad being that guy. And then pretty much ever since then, I was people pleasing. It's like I started limiting myself because I kept making decisions that were dumb, that kind of hurt other people, trying to navigate these emotions that I didn't know anything about. And even as an adult, I still was people pleasing. And you get to a certain point. Like I think I've said this before in a video, how I was a nice guy. I would do things sort of with expectations of getting something out of it. It wasn't necessarily, like initially it wasn't to get something out of it, but it's like I keep doing things but keep not getting things in return. And it would get frustrating, but then I will continue to do those things because it's like the people pleasing me is like, well, you can't just ask for things from people just because you do things, which is something that I still have dealt with up till this week. That's why I got to the point that I stopped asking for my needs to be met, because I didn't think I was allowed to have needs outside of the need to live, I guess. I didn't feel like I could just ask people to satisfy the needs that I had, even when they were doing things for me. Like I wasn't the type of person that asked for a lot. Like I didn't ask my parents for a lot. Growing up, after a certain point, like I was walking to work because I didn't want to ask them to take me to work, which I knew they wouldn't really be able to do anyway. But, they kind of taught me to be independent, so it's kind of hard to just ask for help. It's something that I still kind of struggle with, because if it's not I'm not conditioned to ask for help, it's the people that I do ask for help from sometimes aren't reliable. And then it's kind of like, well, maybe I shouldn't have to ask for help if you see me struggling, because I've seen people extend their hand to me when they see me struggling without asking for help. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. It was either I'm gonna wait till somebody acknowledges that I need help, or I really need help, so I have to ask somebody, but I don't know how to ask somebody, so I'm gonna just struggle, which is not a good place to be at, because the third underlying thing was I don't feel like I deserve help, even though I look out for like everybody in my life, but I don't feel like I deserve help. It's crazy. So the people pleaser thing caught me because when I was going through my breakdown at work, when I wanted to be done with everybody, it's like I realized I've been living for everybody but myself. I'm overworking myself because basically I was taking care of two people, me and my partner, and then it's like I'm taking care of the people at the job because they have a lot of issues, and I was pretty much the only person that they wanted to work with that would make them feel comfortable enough to really make it through the night, because I would laugh and joke with everybody, or I would make lives easier. And even my GM was like, yeah, they like using you because they know that you're gonna do the work or they get it done. And it just so happened to be a lot of women, so it's kind of like they feel like they're just manipulating you to work or do things for them because they know you will, because you're a good guy. And it's like, yeah, try to take advantage of that by getting extra hours, or because I don't have a life outside of work. Like I've literally been here the past 2 days by myself doing nothing but being depressed because I'm trying to let go of things and let go of patterns and old habits and relationships that don't serve me. and being depressed about the fact that I've made it this far, not having done that already, and seeing the repercussions of it, and blah 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 blah. But I realized that I was being a people pleaser to the point that it wasn't satisfying me. Even to the whole relationship, the friendship, to nothing pipeline, I went back because I felt like if my ex was gonna pursue me this much, it would satisfy us both if we would just go back to the norm. Albeit with some changes that she didn't like, but I was just holding on to it because I didn't want to hurt her feelings. And I felt like it was the right thing to do at the time. But it wasn't. And I had to stand on that, because if I would have went back, it would have just been the same thing over and over again. I keep putting my needs to the side to satisfy other people, and I'm not satisfied with myself. So that's when I realized that people pleasing, it is manipulation, because you want everybody to feel like you can handle everything for them. At least in my personal case, you want everybody to feel like you can do everything for them. You can handle everything that they can't. You'll look out for them when nobody else will. But, for me, and pretty much any rational human being would understand, I can't do everything that I need. I can't do everything for somebody else and then expect my needs to get met. And at some point, I kind of erased my own needs to begin with to make other people happy. That's why this relationship didn't work out, because I extended myself so much past any limit to try and do everything for her so that she wouldn't feel disappointment, because I know how much pain that she's dealt with and everything like that. But people pleasing doesn't do you any favors, because this is how I ended up, which goes with this other quote about anger being a secondary emotion. They always say when you're angry, there's usually another emotion that you're not feeling or that you're suppressing. And that particular quote said, anger is what you feel to avoid the vulnerability of dealing with that other emotion. And I got to that point where I was just angry with everything because I was hurt. I understood that my needs weren't being met, but I kept trying to push past the want for them to be met, and push past the obvious signs that I wasn't being satisfied with a lot of things in my life. And taking the bare minimum crumbs, and everybody around you is like, Dale, you this, and this, and we don't feel like you're happy, and this, and this. And it's just like, you end up being a very angry person when you do things for people and you don't feel fulfilled, especially in relationships. When you become a people pleaser in a relationship, for all intents and purposes, that relationship dies. They say often that if you keep doing for people and they don't do anything for you, it builds up resentment towards that person, whether you know it or not, or whether you want to or not. You end up resenting people that don't give back what you want to give back. Because even if you're the nicest person, like I was a very loving person at the beginning of this relationship. Now I'm kind of emotionally numb, but I was a very loving person in this relationship. But you get to a point where you're like, okay, I feel like you're actively not doing the things that I would want or need you to do for this to feel like a relationship. Even that basicness leads to resentment. Because it's like, why can't you just simply do some of the things that I want you to do? I don't ask for much. I never do, because I never want my needs to be fulfilled, apparently. But even the bare minimum, we can't really do. That leads to anger, which kind of goes with this other quote about You can't give from an empty place and wonder why you feel so exhausted. Which wraps up everything about that section because of the fact that my well ran dry. And even up to this point when it was still being dry and I was trying to give back to myself, I was still giving out to others. And it's kind of rough being in that place. You know, it turns you cold, and that's when I understood that this wasn't gonna work. So it's like I'm way more nonchalant than I need to be, to the point that I don't really care about how things are going, because I pretty much want things to end. Because that's not a good place to be in, especially when you did love somebody and you felt so differently about them. But it's never a good place to be when you're in a relationship with somebody, but because you keep foregoing your needs and the basic necessities and everything like that, you start to question, why am I not getting this? Why am I not getting that? And I'm not worthy of that. On top of you already not feeling like you're worthy of whatever it is you're not getting, it's like it builds up to a point where you just wonder why. And then when you finally start getting those things, well, it's like, well, where was this at when I wanted it? And that's kind of to the point that I got to. And being in a relationship and being left feeling so unsatisfied, and then generally in life feeling so unsatisfied, you know, you get very frustrated. And I realized that's why I had a breakdown twice. Because there's so much that I want to change because I don't want to be unsatisfied in my life. I'm gonna be 25. I'm gonna be 25 in a month. Time has really gone by. And for at least 24 years of my life, I've been living for other people. And it's like I said in my other video, I wasn't trying to blame, my ex for things, but I realized that I'm just not happy with my life overall. That sounded like a gunshot. But I'm not happy with my life overall. I want to change things. I want to be able to communicate my wants and needs and get them returned without any complications. Simple as that.